Let's talk about goaltending.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Seattle hockey fans, welcome to another episode of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your favorite team every single day. My name is Erica L. Ayala, your host of Locked On Kraken, also an accredited media member for the upcoming 2026 Winter Olympics in Milano, Cortina, Italy. I'm excited to talk to you about Kraken hockey. First, I got to let you know today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. We're going to talk about goaltending. We're going to talk about a prospect. We're going to talk about someone who's been with the organization since the expansion draft. And we're going to talk about someone who's brand new to the organization. And that is exactly where we're going to start with Matt Murray. I mentioned this the other day, but the Seattle Kraken have, of course, agreed to terms. Matt Murray, 1 year, $1 million. And, you know, at first, I certainly was kind of thinking as I saw this come across the desk, so to speak, what the heck is this going to do for us? Then I remembered Olympic year. Yeah, me, the person who just told you that I'm an accredited media member. Sometimes I compartmentalize things. And so with Philip Grubauer guaranteed to be going to the Olympics, this gives the Seattle Kraken a little bit more flexibility. In fact, that's exactly what we heard from Jason Botterill. It falls in the same realm we've talked about before of just adding competition and adding depth in an Olympic year. It's a scenario where we felt that it made us stronger down at the goalie position. So, I'm not sure what this means for Murray or any of the other goaltenders for that matter with regard to playing time. You'd have to imagine Joey Daccord is still the number one with Philip Grubauer as that number two. But for someone who, like Matt Murray, has dealt with injuries, Botterill is saying, quote, "We feel he's healthy. We feel he's hungry to come in and compete for a position." So those are things that they are taking into account. He was with the Pittsburgh Penguins for 5 years before being traded to Ottawa in 2020. The Senators then sent him over to the Toronto Maple Leafs, where he's been for the past 2 seasons. On his career, he's played 266 NHL games with 147 wins, 87 losses, a .910 save percentage overall, 280 goals against average. Now, that being said, his numbers have gone up pretty steadily and really ballooned in Toronto, at least if we look at goals against average. His highest of his career, 354. His lowest save percentage as well, with an 879. That being said, it was only in 2 games, which I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing, but that's what we've seen. Again, he's dealt with some health issues. He was in Toronto, of course, with Lane Lambert, who is now our head coach. So, maybe some familiarity there, which will bode well for comfort and comfortability. We'll see. But, I think more than anything, this is about it being an Olympic year. We already know Philip Grubauer is going. Is it possible that Joey Daccord gets called in for USA Hockey? Maybe. He was at World Championships along with with Matty Beniers and Mikey Eastman, who we'll see, what the road and the future holds for him. So, I don't know that there's much really to kind of expect here, except for I told you the other day, right? Martin Jones. Good thing we signed Martin Jones with that year when we had Drieger and Philip Grubauer, both who went down. Driegs for the season. And so Martin Jones was huge for us. He was absolutely huge for us. So, we'll see if or how I should say he's kind of integrated into the Seattle Kraken. But Philip Grubauer, we're going to talk about him a little bit as we talk about development camp. I am very curious to see if and how the Seattle Kraken are able to kind of I mean, I don't know. Can they fix what from the outside looking in seems like a broken relationship? I mean, am I the only one who kind of feels like Philip Grubauer got a raw deal? Listen, I've spent many a time here, everydayers know, OGers know, talking about we can't necessarily rely on Philip Grubauer. And that has been true. But I didn't like how things went down. I didn't like how things looked from my perspective. Maybe they were communicated differently, but Philip Grubauer doesn't say much. He definitely is not known to complain, even when he's asked a direct question. I've noticed that about Philip Grubauer in the years that I've covered the Seattle Kraken. So to see him consistently say before he went to the AHL, while he was in the AHL, and then when he was back, that he didn't feel that his confidence was waning last year. It was all about getting repetitions, and that is important in the goaltending position, and he didn't get that. So is he gonna get more time? There's no buyout on the horizon is what we've been told, so he is still a part of the plans for the Seattle Kraken. Is that conditional? Is it conditional from the Seattle Kraken side? Is it conditional from Philip Grubauer's side? Like, does he still want to be here? Does he still believe in the vision of what's going on with this organization? And what is that going to look like if the relationship did sour? It just seems like it was a bit sour to me. Let me know in the comments what you think. But if it was sour, can Lane Lambert and the rest of and Jason Botterill, can they smooth it over? Can they make this work? Because we're going to need Philip Grubauer. And knowing that he is going to be in the Olympics, he is going to the Olympics. He's already been named with Team Germany. What does that look like? Does he want to play games early on and then ease up a little bit once it gets closer to the Olympic Games, which of course, I don't know exactly when Team Germany will be leaving, but by January, I'd be surprised if some of the guys are not at least starting to turn over and think about that. The Olympics will be happening effectively in February. So, what does that look like? What is his timeline? When does he leave and depart for the Olympics? Usually it's honestly not a lot of time. Especially for North American teams. I know the women's side a little bit better. We'll find out. I was not covering the NHL in 2012, so we'll see exactly when they leave. But just knowing what happens in other leagues, they don't really get a lot of time. That being said, European countries do like time together, and I think rightfully so, before big international competitions. So what the Kraken want versus what Team Germany wants, what are the similarities, what are the differences there, all things that I guess we will find out. But coming up next on Locked On Kraken, we're going to talk about the Stuckey Cup. Ty Nelson could not defend his title, and I'll tell you a little bit about why coming up on today's episode. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Now, I personally am not really one to wait in the queue. I'm a pre-sale gal myself. I know the acts that I like, and that's what I do. But I will tell you, I definitely like a last minute deal, sometimes a sporadic impromptu visit to a ballpark, and you can actually see what the view from your seats will look like before you buy, because the app shows a panoramic seat view, so there are no surprises. With Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay, no hidden fees. I like that because I'm definitely balling on a budget. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Hey, thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Your first listen of the day, your midday listen, or your late night listen. Either way, we're so grateful to have you. To my audio listeners, thank you so much. If you're enjoying the show, hey, make sure to tell a friend. We've got some things that I'm pretty excited, some people that we're bringing on board to help with Locked On Kraken. And so I'm really excited for what we can do. Get ready for yet another fantastic training camp. Yes, I will be in Seattle once again, but also, Dev Camp is pretty solid, and we're going to talk about it. Team Blue won the Stuckey Cup. That is, of course, the annual 3-on-3 competition that happens at development camp. And we got this super duper official screenshot of Team White or Team West versus Team East. Team West wearing white, Team East wearing blue. And you can see Catton is on Team White there, Jugnath, Hamilton, Homer, Hendricks, and Hilbrandt as far as your goaltenders. And then Vendapa, the only goaltender for Team Blue. And we'll talk about maybe why. O'Brien, McDonald's there, Krantz, Loshko, Reynolds, Allen. So those were the lineups. And we're going to hear from Jeff Tambellini a little bit later on the show in the next segment. But Vendapa is someone who, had been injured, was going to play for Team Finland. Again, you'll hear, almost said Vendapa, you'll hear Tambellini talk a little bit about that. But it was just a really good opportunity for these guys to come together. And Team Blue, they win the Stuckey Cup after being down 3-1. And winning 4-3 overall. And in the 40-minute I said 3-on-3. It was a 40-minute 4-on-4 scrimmage. Vendapa made 28 saves in the 4-3 comeback victory. Unofficially, because I don't know who was taking the stats, but unofficially, Vendapa was said to have made at least 10 grade A saves, 4 quality stops, and a lot of those, or at least a few of those, 4 quality stops exactly on Berkeley Catton. He did Vendapa once. That was to give Team White the 1-0 lead. And for Vendapa, I felt good out there. I just wanted to enjoy the game and the fans. It felt great today. The team helped me get the win by scoring the 3 straight second period goals to rally from that 3-1 deficit. And Jeff Tambellini really felt that this was a great camp. Kraken now have 43 prospects, all at different stages, because again, we've been at this now for a few years. The development camp, 12 forwards, 14 defensemen, and 4 goaltenders. 2 of the D-men were injured, so that limited, of course, their ability to contribute, but they were there. Now, something that you'll hear Tambellini say, but I'll just reiterate now, is that a lot of the AHL guys, aka Ty Nelson, who has been dominating the Stuckey Cup, they were set aside. They were not asked to Dev Camp, which is not a bad thing. That's a really good thing. And again, Tambellini, I'll break that down a little bit in the next segment. But this was a really great opportunity for all of the prospects to come together under one roof, not only for the Seattle organization to get to know them a little bit better, get to assess and evaluate them, to then start them on their trajectory of development, but also for the guys to get to know the organization, the city. You'll hear again a little bit more about that in the next segment. But overall, let me know, did you get to go to the I've never been to a Stucky Cup. It seems like a good time always. Again, Ty Nelson really has enjoyed it. So let me know if you were able to go. It was an open invitation for fans, as far as I understand. So let me know if you were able to go. I know some fans were able to attend. They're always able to attend. And also, as has been the tradition for a while, there was a contract signing. It was our first round pick from this past season that got to sign his contract at development camp. That's always a big deal. So congrats, Jake O'Brien signed an entry-level contract for 3 years. 3-year entry-level contract at $975 AAV. And so, this is what Jason Botterill had to say. We're excited to get Jake signed to his first professional contract. Jake has elite vision and hockey IQ, tremendous work ethic, and a strong two-way game. He understands this is just the beginning. We're looking forward to his continued development. He played with the Brantford Bulldogs in the OHL last season, and 6'2", we talked about this a little, 6'2", 177, one of the forwards this year. We'll talk a little bit about the defenseman in the next segment. He's from Toronto originally, has played for Hockey Canada in the past. So let me know, were you able to enjoy development camp? If you've been following us on social media, or if you follow us on YouTube, you've seen our amazing new social media coordinator and producer, Joe Dabney. She's been hard at work getting some clips up from Dev Camp, even when because of my move, I've not always been able to get you those clips, but we have them on social media. So if you're not already, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Kraken and follow us on TikTok, Locked On Kraken, and you'll see some of that stuff up there. All right, coming up next, we'll hear from Jeff. Talks a little bit about the prospects, the thinking behind the development camp, and there was a current active Seattle Kraken member that made a cameo. He breaks down how that happened. We'll get into that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Kraken. All right. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica L. Ayala here. I'm also your co-host of the Women's Hockey Report. And on Saturday mornings, we have our newest episodes every Saturday. So check that out on the Locked On NHL channel. I mentioned development camp, but we also have to talk about a prospects game. So I talked to you about the preseason schedule. We talked about that a few episodes ago, but one of the games particularly is going to be prospects, and that is September 13th at Angel of the Winds Arena. This is going to be prospects versus prospects, Vancouver Canucks prospects versus Seattle Kraken prospects. You can get your tickets over at Ticketmaster. They are on sale now. I'm not sure exactly. I got to see if I will be in Seattle around that time, but might have to put it on the calendar. We've got some WNBA stuff happening also around that time, but you can definitely check it out. And we for sure will be keeping our eye on what's going on so we can talk about it here on Locked On Kraken. What I do want to talk about is development camp from the master himself, Jeff Tambellini. He heads up our prospects and development for the Seattle Kraken. And, he felt that this was one of the best development camps that they've had. There was a lot of focus, even though there was one fewer day, just because of how the calendar and the holiday calendar happened. So we're going to hear from Kraken Director of Player Development, Jeff Tambellini. I have a few little clips. I'll break them up for you just so we can discuss what he's talking about. But here are some early thoughts. Or I should say, here are some thoughts from Jeff Tambellini immediately following development camp that ended and culminated in the Stucky Cup with the win for Team Blue.
Well, it's a good week. This was our youngest group, probably by a mile. No American League players, but just really excited to see that next wave of kids start coming in. See some of the younger players take a big step. We'd like to see them in leadership roles. So to see a Jugnoth really step up, Catton take a bigger role, Ray Kopp, Villeneuve, all those things made for a very good week. Yeah, no, it was a big change for our drafting strategy. We've been low on D for a while. This year we ended up with 14 D at camp. 2 were injured, but to get 4 picks was a great start. You see with Fiddler, the size, really excited about that, but we're excited about this whole cast of guys coming in. With Visa, we're so proud of this kid. Like, he dealt with some tough health issues throughout the year, missed the whole back half. He was supposed to be one of the goaltenders for Team Finland at the World Juniors. So for him to make the comeback, get in a game, play that well in front of all our fans, for us, that's a 10 out of 10 day.
You know, in that first clip, we heard Tambellini talking about how, you know, this was a great camp, that he felt that they'd been a little bit low on defensemen, which is something that I said pre-draft, and some people poo-pooed at that. But I mean, it was noticeable that we had been drafting so many centermen. So he addressed that a little bit. It was great to get the defensemen in camp. He also alluded to Vendapa and him, again, missing time with an injury. So to see him be able to play out the full game, and I think that's why they probably gave him the full game for Team Blue, so that he could really get a sense for where he is in his development. So I liked that. But speaking of goaltending and net minding, there was a special guest at camp. So I want you to hear this next clip where Jeff talks a little bit about kind of what they're trying to do as far as bringing the players together, why it's important, and who made a cameo and how he could make an impact on this young crop of Seattle Kraken players, especially at the position that he plays.
It's a short amount of days, and we don't get these guys a lot, but when we do get this group, we're trying to instill multiple things. One, we're trying to build a foundation for these prospects, talk about what we do in Seattle, how we do it from a development standpoint. We were short a day this year, so tried to give them every ice session with purpose. So our defenders were with Corey Murphy, our head defense coach. Forwards were with Justin Rye, who handles most of our offensive guys. And then our goaltenders had all 3 of our goalie coaches and Philip Grubauer. So tried to make the most out of every ice session. And I thought just overall they got a chance to see the city, understand our franchise, and really get a good sense of what it means to be a Seattle Kraken. Oh, it's amazing. He was in the gym on July 1st, and I asked him, I said, do you want to go with the goalies? And he asked if I was serious. I said, no, of course, they would love to hear from you. So it goes to show you what Gruby's made of, the type of person he is. This guy is a first-class professional, and those 4 goalies took a ton out of what he gave him this week, and that's why Gruby's Gruby, and we appreciate having him here.
That's right. It was the one and only Philip Grubauer that showed up for the young guys. I love how it's just Tambo and Gruby in the gym, and he's like, hey, come through. And Grubauer was like, I got you. So that was pretty dope. I think it's fantastic to see the buy-in when you've got the elder statesmen, if you will, that are really dedicated to the success of the organization in that way. So stick taps to Philip Grubauer. You also heard that it's not a lot of time, but it's been a very structured development camp. And so let's go back to Jeff a little bit more on exactly what he was looking for from development camp here with the Seattle Kraken.
It's important just that they become friends, because when they get to training camp and they're up against our best players and men, it's these friendships with their guys their age that really carry them through those tougher moments. So I think it's good that they get to know each other. They get to know who they're competing against. It's always a good realization when they see the amount of players, how good these guys are, and the resumes and the list of what they're actually up against. So a lot of different layers, but we're happy when they get a chance to come together. It's always evolving. Just with the type of players, the amount of draft picks. I mean, go to year 1 where it's 7 guys and there is no camp, and now we're at 43 prospects and we get to pick just the youngest group because we believe our American League system's done a great job, and we don't need to bring that group in as much. So we're always trying to evolve what we do with the kids off the ice, on the ice. I thought this was probably our best on ice in terms of actually getting accomplished some of the foundational things we want. And then away from the rink, just trying to make sure they enjoy what Seattle has and what it offers. So we had to see the Seahawks yesterday, and all our guys are out on the field and learning how to throw footballs. Some well, some not so well, but trying to make it a good experience where they want to come back to Seattle. That's the biggest thing, is feeling comfortable in this building, but just really falling in love with the city of Seattle.
I mean, I love that. Wanting them to fall in love with the city of Seattle, but also focused on having this core be comfortable with each other, because there's going to be a time where they're competing for spots, but they're going to be doing so together. They want to know what's in the pipeline. They want the pipeline to know what's in the pipeline, and to be able to work together to, have iron sharpen iron. I love this story about, playing a little football, throwing the football around at Lumen Field, I guess. And some guys, it sounds like maybe are not so great at throwing the football around. I will say, I mean, I think it's more because of my baseball skills that then translated into playing college softball. I could throw a football. I can definitely throw a baseball further and more accurately, but I can get you a nice little spiral. So if you need a, two-way quarterback for a little game, let me know when I come through to Seattle. I got you 100%. All right. The last clip is about Tambellini talking about what comes next, because kumbaya, we go to dev camp, we've got the scrimmage coming up, prospects game, whatever. What does this look like, and what does his role look like specifically?
Well, for us, the next step is now we get into the research phase of really trying to understand this new draft class. We got them. We're trying to play catch up for a couple of days of figuring these guys out, but now we have a month to really get into these guys and figure out who they are, what they do well, and how we're going to help them moving forward.
And so it's always great to hear from Jeff. For the last few years, he's been talking at the end of development camp to media, telling us, his evaluation, what comes next, things of that nature. And so, there was a clip that I didn't include where he's kind of joking around about, there used to be an off season, but there's not many days off. He does get some days off, but not many, because there's always something that you can be doing to fortify this prospect group. And I if you're an everydayer, if you're an OGer, I'm obsessed with process. So hopefully I get to pick Jeff's brain a little bit more on that the closer we get to training camp and preseason. That's our show, folks. I hope you are staying safe. Hey, a reminder, especially with everything that's going on in the world, in the United States, be kind to yourself. Do what you need to do to reset and recharge your batteries. And hopefully that, it should go without saying, but I hope whatever is good for you, it comes at harm to none. Absolutely take care of yourself and try to be a great person and be kind to others. If you can't do that, maybe the saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, goes into effect. Anyway, that's our show. We hold fast, we stay true, and we say loud and proud, let's go Kraken. I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.